9:45 here, Big 550 KTRS. A couple minutes with our next guest. He's David Pierce. He is a senator from Missouri, a state senator from Missouri. Senator David Pierce. Senator Pierce, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much, McGraw.
You guys
really concerned about the police officers in Ferguson. What a terrible thing, and our thoughts and prayers go out with them this morning.
Thank you very much for that. Yes, we all are. We all have those same thoughts and prayers. You earlier were at a news conference in Jefferson City with some other members of your party. Give us the sense of what that news conference, what you said in that news conference.
Well, I was joined by Senator Mike Parsons, Senator Gary Romine, and State Representatives Bill White and Jim Neely. And the main part of the news conference was to ask for the resignation of John Hancock as chairman of the Republican Party.
And the reason for that is?
Well, the reason is obviously the suicide death of Tom Schweik has I think made a lot of us pause and to think, where are we going in politics? And is this negative character assassination? Is this something that we're really proud of, and this is what we want to see in the future? And I think that we have to have an honest dialogue about politics in the state of Missouri, and I think those changes start at the top. Since Tom's death and his funeral, we've heard nothing from the Republican Party as far as suggestions on how to change negative campaigns, how to have ethics reform, how to put campaign limits on. And really all the focus from MRP is saving the chairman's job, and we can do and we should do much more.
MRP, for those who don't know, MRP stands for?
Missouri Republican Party.
Right. So one of the criticisms of John Hancock was that he started a whisper campaign alleging that Tom Schweik was Jewish, in which he wasn't, and he's had all varying degrees of denials. Were you aware of the allegations? Were you aware of the rumors? Do you have any comment on that? What are your thoughts on that whole side of this story?
And of course that question was asked at our news conference in the Capitol today. I was not aware of that, but yet I think it's a much bigger issue than that, because I don't know if we'll ever get to the actual truth on that. In the St. Louis Post-Dispatch yesterday, there was a he said, she said story, and so I don't know if we'll ever get to that, but it's much bigger than that. The radio commercial that was produced that compared Tom Schweik to Barney Fife and that he could be squashed like a bug. Are those things that we really need to be saying about, in our case, fellow Republicans? And those are things that I think that as a leader of a party, that you sit the candidates down, you sit the consultants down, you sit the vendors down and say, we're not going to have campaigns like this in the future. And, you know, the folks back home, I'm from Warrensburg, they hate negative advertising. They just think it's just a terrible way to elect our officials. And so I think a leader of our party needs to have discussions like that as opposed to just saving their job.
It seems like, I think you mentioned 4 or 5 other Republicans were at this news conference calling for the head of the party to step down. Senator Blunt hasn't talked, and Wagner hasn't talked, and while I don't want to disrespect you and say you're not a leader, your name's not the first one that comes to mind when Republicans are talking about their party. Where is the rest of the party, and how come they haven't spoken on this?
Well, I think it's an individual decision that we all have to make. To me, I was just very moved. I was at Tom Schweik's funeral. And on the way home that night, I just thought, we need to make some changes. It shouldn't be just a day that we put on a black suit and felt sad for an hour. We need to really reflect on our own campaigns, on possible future campaigns, and for our constituents, what they need to go through. And so that's why I search in my heart what we should do, and I think we need to make changes at the top of our party.
What happens now? What type of backlash are you going to expect? Because, again, this is this is not normal. We're in some strange territory here, Senator. We don't know where we go from here as a state and as a party and as a political process. But what about you individually? Are you expecting some backlash after this?
I don't know about the word backlash. When you do make decisions like this, I mean, it does draw attention. I think it will have the discussion going, and that's part of why we did this, is to say, as a party, as Missourians, is it business as usual, or should we make some changes? And I went back home last weekend and talked to a lot of constituents, and they're sick and tired of business as usual. And to think that one of your statewide candidates, an elected official, would commit suicide due to the pressure that was building, I think sends a terrible message to all of us. Now, suicide is tragic, and everyone going through a difficult period. Every story is different, but yet I think at times that we push people to the limit, to the brink. And is that what politics really should be? We could do better, and so that's why it's so important to have this discussion. Ultimately, it's the state Republican Party made up of two people from each senatorial district will make that decision, and I'm confident when they have the information and talk to people that they'll make a good decision.
Yesterday on this program, Trish Vincent, the chief of staff for the auditor and the chief of staff of Tom Schweik when he was auditor, said on this show that John Hancock told her specifically when she confronted him about the rumors she had heard he was spreading, he said, "I was, but I'm no longer." He then came out and categorically denied that story to be true. Do you believe her or do you believe him?
Well, the very fact that we're having this discussion means that there's a cloud of doubt out there. And the very fact that we as Republicans are having to worry about he said, she says, means that as a party we're not going forward. I don't know if we'll ever know the truth about that. But I think that when you have your party leader embroiled in controversy like that, it's time to move on. And, if I had a staff member that was engaged in something like that or perceived in something like that, they would be gone. And I think as a party, that's what you do. You cut your losses and you move forward. And, we've really heard nothing substantive from the party in the last 9 days as far as ethics reform, as far as bringing people together to talk about the future of campaigns, nothing. And so I think we can do better.
I think the silence has been deafening, is what you're saying.
That's exactly right.
Senator Pierce, thank you very much for your time on a busy morning.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You got it. That's Senator Pierce, who just held a news conference earlier this hour, calling for the head of his own party, and a number of his colleagues stood up in a podium and held a news conference calling for the head of his party, John Hancock, to resign as the head of the Missouri Republican Party. We are in some strange times, ladies and gentlemen. 9:52 here, Big 5.